and for 60 minutes, we play Iowa State football together.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Iowa State fan perspective here at Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Happy Victory Tuesday, as you guys are probably watching this. Welcome back to the show. The Cyclones are 1-0, and boy, you couldn't ask for a better start to the 2025 season. As always, I'm your host tonight. My name is Jake, joined each and every single week with my co-host, my brother Justin. We break down the victories that is, and then we preview our next opponent. And next on deck is the South Dakota Coyotes, as we are back in Jack Trice Stadium for the first time in the 2025 season. Before we get into all that, I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the show. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Like the video. And as always, give us a score prediction for next Saturday's game. And shout out to our partner at No Rivals, shopnorivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping. If you are subscribed to the channel, you comment your score prediction for Saturday and you get 2 for 2 correct, we'll get you guys an awesome Iowa State hat over at shopnorivals.com. They got 6 of them, so go and check them out. They're the best in the biz. We appreciate those guys as always. Justin, I know we said we're a little tired, and we don't even have much of an excuse because we didn't make the trip to Ireland. I know a lot of Cyclone fans can probably feel the same and have better excuses than we do. But, I mean, when you're 1-0 in conference play, when you're 1-0 to the 2025 season and you get such a massive win, it really doesn't matter, right? Like, you're ready to bounce back and talk more Cyclones the next week. How are we doing tonight?
Oh, absolutely. And we may not have made the trip to Ireland, but that didn't stop us from indulging in a couple Guinnesses and getting up and doing a little makeshift tailgate and watching the game together. So that was good. Feels good to get back in the swing of things in the season. It feels even better to be 1-0. So no complaints over here.
Yeah, I didn't even get a mention. Justin and I were able to watch the game this weekend together. We don't always get to do that, especially when it's not a home game. So that was a lot of fun. And Guinness were had. I think I said on our Play the Fight Song live show last week that I said I had to get at least 3. I think we got there. I don't remember the number exactly, but I think it was up there. It was up to 4. It was up to 4 or 5. And honestly, Justin, I don't know if the Cyclones don't win if we don't get to 5 Guinnesses. I think that was kind of the reason that the Cyclones got over the hump. Well, in all seriousness, like we'll talk Kansas State a little bit. I mean, I'm sure you've listened to every national media podcast. I'm sure you listen to every Cyclone podcast. So I know you're maybe overindulged in kind of post-game thoughts. But we do have to get ours out. We do have to say some things that we took away from the game and kind of move forward with that. Justin, is there any initial takeaways that maybe you haven't heard 400 times since Saturday that maybe stood out to you from the game for the Cyclones' victory?
No, I wouldn't say I heard anything new. Honestly, with it being the standalone game this weekend, obviously there were other games, but with it being the primetime game over in Ireland, I was expecting to find a lot more content about the game this weekend and kind of about the Cyclones. So forgive me if I'm a little bit in a mood that I really feel like they didn't get much respect at all after that game, which is fine. I mean, I'm sure Matt Campbell and the team prefers it that way, but I thought it was kind of crazy how they didn't really get much respect for winning that game. And I also went into the game saying we're not going to overreact, win or loss, but that just kind of surprised me that I didn't really feel like many people kind of took much away from that game, which was a huge win for Iowa State.
I knew I'd be pretty excited, clearly, had we won that football game, but it really, like, you're right. We try not to overreact, but the breath of fresh air, just like the feeling of kind of seeing everything in front of you after that victory, I don't think I anticipated that feeling being so, I guess, for a lack of a better term, feeling so good. Like, I just like everything is now in front of you, being 1-0 in the Big 12 and getting another victory, another ranked victory on your resume, because you never know what that's going to look like down the stretch of the season. And yeah, I think just you never know where the season is going to head, but that really just, especially crushing all the narratives of the slow start Cyclones. Should we call them that?
Well,
the old slow start Cyclones.
They did start slow, so I don't know if they could really say that, but they had a great second half. I thought it was really cool to see Iowa State play such a meaningful game early in the season that wasn't the Iowa game and didn't bring the pressure
Mhm.
that it did. Obviously, this game had its pressures and was kind of a rivalry game as well, but it's just kind of a different feel. And it was really cool to see the way the team responded in the second half, I thought.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to the Iowa game clearly next week. We have so much time to touch on that, but I think that that changes the mindset. And I don't know if it changes the result. Clearly, that's what we're going to play the game for. But I think it changes the mindset and the attitude going into that Iowa game that I don't think I personally, as a fan, have ever felt. I'll kind of express those next week, but it does change my mindset heading into that week next week. But we do have another game on deck. Before we do that, we do want to recap the game in itself. Iowa State wins 24-21 in Ireland. Could have went up 10, had a Carson Hansen elbow been just a couple of inches short, but turned out to be a good thing as the Cyclones took 3 knees to run out the clock and win that huge game on Saturday. Just a couple of notes. Iowa State was 3 of 14 on third down, but 3 of 3 on fourth down. And one thing I took away, Justin, it was all 3 fourth down conversions ended up leading to huge opportunity. Now, Iowa State didn't capitalize on every single one. The Kyle Conradi missed kick was one of those. I believe, obviously, they could have scored a touchdown on the last possession of the game. And then I believe the third fourth down conversion did actually lead to a touchdown. So all 3 fourth down conversions were absolutely massive. Iowa State was really, really good last year in fourth downs. And we touched on it last week. I just trust Taylor Mauser in some of those situations, and he has just been absolutely dynamite. And if they can continue to do that, why shouldn't we expect the Cyclone fans, Iowa State, to win every single close game that they're in? Now, will it happen? I don't know, but why shouldn't we expect them to win every single close game that they're in when they convert these fourth downs at such a high rate? Both teams had 2 fumbles. I think the biggest play of the game obviously came down to K-State not converting that crazy. Speaking of fourth downs, not converting that, what was it, 4th and 2 or something, where
4th and 1 probably shouldn't have been 4th down. Probably should have been first down. Shout out the field having no paint on it.
You're okay. So we're going to go there. I
feel like
you're just giving
you play with the circumstances given to you. And that's something that Iowa State has taken advantage of the last 2 seasons. We've been really good in these opportunistic spots, and they've taken advantage of most of their opportunities. And obviously, I mean, everyone watched the game. There was no pain on the field. Like, I'm not saying it guaranteed would have been a first down, but we certainly got a little benefit from that. And Kansas State, they should have got the first down. I mean, you've got arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, some say, and this top tier offensive line and this supposed to be good running game. Like, you should be able to get 1 yard. So shout out to the Iowa State defense for stepping up in that huge spot.
I just thought, like, the way Avery ran the ball on that fourth down, I don't know if he necessarily deserved. I don't think he deserved to get the first down. Going to be completely honest. He just kind of tucked his shoulders and he kind of like fell forward, kind of bracing for impact. Like, Avery's clearly a better runner than Rocco. Like, I'll admit that. That's any person who watches the games knows that. But Rocco runs so much harder, and he had so many more tougher 1-yard runs in that game on Saturday. And I just kind of felt like that was the name of the game. And Rocco's game is never pretty. I should say it's not always pretty. And the stats would tell you, if you didn't watch the game, Avery played better. But when plays mattered the most, Rocco Becht outperformed Avery Johnson. And just the simple things like completing a 5-yard pass. Like, we know Avery hit a couple of those big plays wide open, but his short game inconsistencies in throwing the football is alarming. And a lot of national people don't, recognize it because they don't watch the games.
I want to break down Rocco's game without comparing the 2 quarterbacks, because obviously that's kind of the easy thing to do, is just comparing the 2 and how they did. But on face value, looking at the 2 quarterbacks, the biggest thing that stood out to me and kind of my biggest reservation with Avery Johnson is just how nonchalant he kind of plays the game. He had some of those really good deep ball throws. He had that good rushing touchdown, and he makes it look so effortlessly and makes it look so easy. And I think that's why it's so easy for people to fall in love with him and kind of put him in a class where his production honestly hasn't been there. And he didn't really have any of the big mistakes this weekend as far as turning the ball over or anything like that, which is a good start. And I see him improving as the year goes on. But just like you said, on that fourth down run, like, it's so nonchalant. Some of those short
Mhm.
passes is where it really stood out. He had 9 incompletions, and a lot of those, like, could have been completions, honestly. Like, they were
Mhm.
there for the taking, and they were just a little bit off, a little bit short, a little bit behind him, a little bit behind the receivers. And when it comes to Rocco, yeah, like you said, the first half was a little sloppy. I thought he had defensive linemen in his face a lot of that time, and I thought he battled back really well. But just the amount of trust that I have with him, like when it's
Mhm.
third down and when it's fourth down, is just something that, like, as Iowa State fans, like, I say it a lot, but it's just we're so spoiled, and it's not something that we can take for granted. Since he's become the starter, Iowa State is 7-1 in one-score games. What were we before that? Like 0-10,
It was
something like
like 10 of your last 11 you had lost.
it's crazy. Like, we get into these situations, these fourth downs and second halves, and maybe it's just me. You could tell me if I'm wrong, but like, I'm not worried at all when he's under center.
No.
And that's not just him. Obviously, we've got great weapons around
And
him.
running the
Taylor
football, like,
Mauser did a
let's
really good
give let
job.
let's give that credit.
Yes, obviously the fourth quarter we started establishing the run game, but obviously the two big transfer receivers that everyone were counting on didn't catch a single pass all day. So like there's that too. But I felt like we just had the better quarterback and we had the better coaching staff and we had the better continuity. And Iowa State was tougher for longer on Saturday. And it's just something that
There it
we've been
is.
saying for the last 2 years. And it was just really cool to, even though like they started so slow and struggled right away, to see them get their footing in the second half and to see them start to come alive and see some of that stuff start to take fold, which is really exciting as an Iowa State fan.
Well, and even last year, and the entire offseason was no Higgins, no Noel, and I get it. Like, that still may be very true that
That's
might
going to impact the season. Like obviously, like Eskelson and Overby looked really good. I
made
mean,
2
they
plays.
both had a touchdown. Yeah, they still combined for like 4 catches and like 70 yards or something like that.
Where I was going with that is not necessarily the receivers. It's just like my whole point was we still have Rocco Becht. We still believe he has the ability to make plays and his offense trusts him. Like guys, go back and watch the film. Like Jaden Higgins was phenomenal in one-on-one coverage, but there were so many times where Rocco threw Jaden open. Like Jaden didn't have to move. My favorite throw was like there was a sideline throw in the Big 12 championship game that he just dropped it in the bucket for Jaden. And Jaden and Jalen were fantastic, and they made a lot of plays. But Rocco as a passer can be really elite at times. And that throw to Brett Eskelson and to Dom Overby were just in the bucket when it mattered most. And that third down conversion to Gabe Burkle over Ususame, who had his paws up, throw right over him, perfect touch to Burkle. Just like 14 completions, but like a lot of them are so important. And he's a really good thrower. And I just wanted to make sure that we did give his shout outs because I just the talk is still, I don't know if the receivers are actually going to turn out to be something. We're going to continue to find out, but Rocco Becht is still going to throw whatever receivers out there. He's going to throw them open from time to time because he is that special.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not raising the concern on the receivers yet, and we can kind of get into the breakdown a little bit like we talked about, but they're going to be in a great position with Mauser calling plays and Rocco getting them the ball. So,
yeah, I think we can talk about like maybe game takeaways, kind of previewing into our South Dakota outlook and just kind of our breakdown there. So we'll kind of merge them together as we go. But that was we kept it at about 15 minutes. I think that's about right. I think I'm ready to move on to the next one. And I think this Cyclone team is ready to get back in front of Jack Trice Stadium and have a big game on Saturday where I believe the Cyclones open up. I mean, it was 16 and a half points as a favorite, and now I think it's come down to 15, 14 and a half, somewhere in there. As a top 5 FCS program, your South Dakota Coyotes come to Ames, Iowa, where I don't think they've ever played each other in their history from what I've looked up. I believe they were supposed to play each other. Actually, I think I know for a fact that they were supposed to play each other, Justin, in the 2020 season before the FCS shut down their season, moved it to the spring. Then Iowa State goes and grabs like Incarnate Word, and then they canceled, and then we grabbed Louisiana, and the rest
that
is
went well.
history. The rest is history with that. So
I think we watched that game together too. We were in Sioux City. I remember that.
Yeah, so let's move on to better times, and I'm excited as a South Dakota native. Being about 45 minutes from Vermilion, I'm excited to see what this team has in store because it's a formidable opponent. And
Native means you're from there.
sorry, native resident. Thank you. That's why I have you on here to correct my vocabulary. Dad would just, he's probably making a smirk as we're doing this right now. Anyways, besides the point. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this South Dakota team has in store. Brand new head coach, pretty much new roster, but this is still one of the bigger names, bigger brands within FCS football over the last couple of years, and they are in the SEC of the FCS, where they play in the Missouri Valley Conference, where it is just loaded. Now, they're not better than, at least preseason wise, I don't think they're better than South Dakota State or North Dakota State at this point, but they're not far off. They've beaten North Dakota State 2 of the last 3 years, and they have played some FBS opponents the last couple of years that we can kind of, base our takes off of and kind of look forward to Saturday. But let's talk about the head coach first. First-year head coach Travis Johansson comes in after Bob Nielsen, I believe, just stepped away or retired. He was the coach there for about a decade and really had this program humming, Justin, for the last couple of years. I think back-to-back 11 and 10-win seasons for the Coyotes. And before that, this program kind of struggled. And he was the defensive coordinator for the last 6 years. And a lot of the success comes from Johansson. And he had arguably a top 3 defense in the FCS the last few years, which has led to their 10 and 11 win seasons. And even against some of the FBS opponents, his defenses has stood really tall. Now, you've mentioned it before we got on, Justin. They bring back one starter on defense. We're obviously going to do our players to watch. So it's interesting to see if the former Grandview defensive coordinator can kind of turn this thing around. We know there's some Iowa ties. Like I said, Johansson was the former Grandview defensive coordinator before he went to Vermilion. I believe the new defensive coordinator is from Northwestern College. Shout out to the GPAC. Shout out to the Morningside Mustangs. Rather be dead than Raider Red. Had to put that in there. But yeah, I saw there's a lot of Iowa ties to this that I think this team is going to be pretty jacked up for. Preseason top 5 FCS, but Bill Connolly has them ranked the 92nd best team in all of college football. He ranks, all 500 schools on his list there, and he has USD ranked 92nd. There's 136 teams in FBS play, Justin. So this team could easily compete for, dare I say, one of the top 3 or 4 spots within the MAC. If I'm going to kind of put something relevant there, we'll get to a lot of the roster, but any initial thoughts with South Dakota? I know Campbell's been on. Literally one of the last comments he said in his post-game presser was, we have to get ready for a South Dakota team. Like, do you feel like Iowa State is actually meaning what they say? Like, they're not sleeping through this game?
I do. I think they're going to show up ready. And that's no disrespect to South Dakota or anything like that. It's obviously going to be a good game. And as far as an FCS opponent goes, like, people think Iowa State should just walk in and walk over them, but you just look at the spread. Like, that's not going to be the case. But you listen to how Iowa State's kind of gone about their business with this Ireland game going into it, and even bigger preparations for it is coming after it, because coming out of Ireland, no one's really had much success, and Iowa State is well aware of this fact, and I put a lot of trust in them that they seem like they know what they're doing, and I don't really expect them to sleepwalk through this game this weekend. That being said, we've seen Iowa State play FCS teams before, and I don't think we're going to see as wide variety of the playbook this weekend as we did last weekend going into the Iowa game. So it's not like something, coming off the Kansas State game, Iowa State's going to show up and roll. I'm not expecting that. But hopefully it's not too much of a scare for us in Ames.
I know Campbell's preached like they're just teams haven't had a ton of success with playing in that Ireland game and then coming back. I kind of looked it up myself. I know the record, like the combined record between both teams who have played in the game for the last 7 years is under 500, but there has been like relative success. Like Georgia Tech last year ended up having a pretty good season. They were not expected to make a bowl game. They beat Florida State. I looked at how they bounced back the following week. They came back and played a Georgia State team and dominated them at home. And that was a Georgia State team that beat Vanderbilt. So, like, I think Brent Pry and Matt Campbell kind of remind me of, like, toughness, like, not taking things for granted kind of thing. So I do think Campbell's going to have these guys ready to go.
For sure. And I don't necessarily think it's just getting your bodies acclimated and coming back and playing this weekend. it's something with managing expectations and now having the bullseye on your back for the whole season. You're adding another week to the season, so guys are a little more tired and obviously have a little more attention on them from that first game of the season. So it's just something that they're going to be dealing with the whole year, but I think something that the coaching staff is long prepared for.
Absolutely. Let's get down to the roster then a little bit. 7 guys enter the portal for P4 schools, including 3 offensive linemen. I think they all came post-spring. One of their best offensive tackles goes to Vanderbilt. Joe Cotton could be one of the best offensive linemen in the Big 12 this year. He's at Cincinnati, if you guys didn't know that. And then another one, I can't remember where he went on the top of my head. On the other side, defensive end, Myquise Humphrey heads to Kentucky. I think he could be one of the best edge rushers in the SEC this year. Like, they had some dudes on this program. I mentioned Conley had him a 92nd, Justin, in his top, all of college football list. Before the spring portal, he had USD at like 82nd. Like, that's how much talent was still on this roster, and there's still some left. And we'll get to those guys, but there were some absolute dudes on this team. They lost a 1,000-yard rusher. They lost their top 4 pass catchers. Javian Phipps is another guy that returns. He's their leading receiver with only 200 yards. They bring in an Arkansas State transfer at receiver. Like, they brought in some other guys that have like P4 names to their history, but like no playing experience. And then they lost the top 5 guys in the secondary and their top 3 defensive linemen. Like, the defense is absolutely gone. And Johansson, I listened to his media day press conference. He's just like, it's kind of the name of the game at the FCS level. Like, young guys, freshmen, sophomores who didn't expect to play maybe 3 months ago are just going to have to step up. And they're a good development program. So I'm just glad maybe like Iowa State's playing them at least week 1, whereas like the SEC schools wait until like week 10 to play some of these schools. And I know it's a little different. We play real FCS schools. They don't. But you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather get this team week 1 that's brand new and fresh.
Yeah, it's a good point. You see Iowa State and Kansas State last weekend and how sloppy they looked in the first half. So that's going to be a tough task for USD to just kind of walk into Ames and show up and compete with a team who's one of the top 20 teams in the country, especially with all the new that they have. And I know obviously they have a lot of new guys, but that culture doesn't just disappear overnight. Like you said, They've had back-to-back really good seasons, just like Iowa State last year. That was their best season they've had in their school history. And they still kept some of the guys in the coaching staff, and some of those young guys are a lot of the guys who are going to step up and have to play. Yeah, they lost a lot of starters, but those young guys were still there. So it's new players, but that culture and that toughness is still going to be there. And that's why that line is where it is right now with Vegas.
And that's what you said it perfectly, because Johansson was saying that in his press conference. He's like, yeah, I know we lost a ton of guys, but the culture in the offseason hasn't changed. Like, we're picking up right where Nielsen left off when he retired last year.
And we haven't touched on it. I mean, their 2 best players are still there too on offense.
That's exactly right. We'll get to those 2 guys, but I did want to mention too, I know I just mentioned their top 3 linemen headed off to P4 guys. Listen, they backfilled. Now, they may not beat up to the talent that those guys were at, but they got a dude from Chattanooga who was Chattanooga's best offensive lineman last year. He was like a 3-star transfer. He could have went to the FBS level. They picked up a dude from K-State, and then they picked up a guard from Florida International, FIU, who by all accounts is ready to start and could be an all-conference guy in the Missouri Valley as well. So they're not like Vanderbilt, Cincinnati, and SEC caliber guys, but they should pick up somewhat where they left off comparatively to Missouri Valley play. Justin, I'm ready to let's get into players to watch, because I think everybody's like, get to the point, because I think everybody's heard this storyline like 100 times, but you lose that many guys to the portal. You still won in the offseason if you're South Dakota, because you kept your 2 best players, like Justin mentioned. And one of them, in old Iowa State fashion, you could never have this easy, as former Iowa State quarterback Aiden Bauman comes back as a 4-year starter at South Dakota after transferring out. He and Hunter Deckers were in the same recruiting class, and he started 31 games at South Dakota. He sits top 5 in school history among a lot of passing categories. He was honorable mention all conference last year. I expect him to be second or first team all conference in the Missouri Valley this season. And the dude's an absolute gunslinger. Now, this team is a run heavier style. Like, they're going to rely on the run game, and we're going to mention a guy here in a second, but when you bring back, like Iowa State fans know, like when you bring back a guy who started for you the last 4 years, that's monumental. Like this guy has played against real competition, and this guy, if that, there's probably nobody else has a bigger chip on their shoulder in Jack Trice Stadium Saturday than number two. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
So that's one guy to highlight on the offense. Second guy for me, this guy is regarded as maybe the best offensive player within the FCS. Charles Pierre Jr., 1,250 rush yards last year, preseason player of the year in the Missouri Valley. He's regarded as the best running back in FCS, first team all Missouri Valley Conference last year. And against Wisconsin, had 12 carries for 83 yards. So that's a pretty good average yards per carry if I had to say so myself. So two dudes who are easily first team, if not second team, all Missouri Valley or all American level at the FCS. So while you lost a ton, I think this offense is going to be ready to go. And I'm really excited for the challenge that Iowa State's defense is facing on Saturday. Justin, you have any other thoughts on these two offensively, or do you just want to get into the defensive players?
Yeah, we can keep it rolling. I mean, it sets up well for USD as they've got a defensive-minded head coach upgrading their defensive coordinator to the head coach position, that they still have their two best players sitting on that offensive side, specifically at quarterback. So you're not really expecting them to miss a beat on that side. And if you're ever going to be losing 10 starters on one side of the ball, you might as well have it on the side of the ball where your coach specializes in. Mm-hmm. So although they have to replace 10 starters, they are bringing back linebacker Nate Ewell, who was a fifth year senior for them and had 100 tackles last year. He's another Iowa guy, like you said. He's a Grandview transfer, and he's originally from Waterloo. He's still a preseason FCS All-American. So as far as bringing back guys, like, it's a really good guy to bring back and have anchor in your defense there at linebacker. As like we said, a lot of new guys in the secondary since nobody's coming back. One guy to maybe watch out for is DB Tariq Broomfield. He's a JUCO transfer, so he's got 21 games under his belt. So although he's a new player there, he's still an experienced player. In his career at the JUCO level, he played over in California. He had 107 tackles, 7 sacks, and accounted for 6 turnovers. So still a guy who's played a lot of ball and has a lot of experience. So if you're going to bring in transfers, those are the type of guys who you can watch out for. They've also got 2 captains on their defensive side, and Tim White as a cornerback and linebacker Wade Abrams. Both of them are their captains, so probably guys that you should look out for and leaders on that defense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute brand new defense on Saturday, and I think the linebackers are going to be solid. I have no idea what the secondary is going to look like, but most importantly, really interested to see what the defensive line looks like for South Dakota, because that defensive line last year was really, really good for them. So we'll get into keys of the game, Justin, and or just storyline. My first one for me is, how does the offensive line for Iowa State build off of last week, where I thought they got killed in the first half by the fans, I should say. I think
they deserved it.
I would agree. I think other outside factors, came into play with some of those sacks. I thought Rocco held on to the ball too long on one of those. And the conditions of the field in the first half were horrendous. Yeah. And once the game dried up, once the field dried up, they were so good at running the football in the fourth quarter for leading Carson Hansen. So that's really what I want to see. I don't know what we're going to get out of this South Dakota defensive line, but if it's anything like they had last year, it's a good challenge for Iowa State, who's going to have one of the best defensive lines in the Big Ten in a week from now. So let's see if we can continue to run the football as well as we did last week. So for me, that's key to the game, number one. I think the offensive line needs to continue to build off of what they had last week. I'll get to one more, Justin, before I throw it back to you. Are we going to get the wide receivers more touches? I think that's a key to the game. Now, I think you could go, maybe key to the game is the wrong word, because I think it might be more of a storyline, because I think Iowa State doesn't have to get the receivers involved to win on Saturday. I think they can do exactly what they just did in Ireland and get their tight ends going, run the football, muck it up, just like you did against North Dakota last year. Like, I think the receivers aren't going to be super important to win the football game Saturday, but at some point you're going to need them. And I think you're going up against, Justin, you highlighted it, You're losing your top 5 guys in the secondary for South Dakota. Why not try to get a bunch of your receivers going? I think this is a perfect time. Again, I think the field conditions were really, really hard to run routes for as a receiver last week. So now is the time. Let's get Sowell involved. Let's see if Xavier Townsend's got something. Let's continue to build off what Dominic Overby could be, Brett Eskelson, Carson Brown. Hopefully we get Daniel Jackson back. Like, there's so many names out there. I would like to see us throw the ball a little more. And I know I think I'm lying to myself a little bit. I would love to see us throw 30, 35 times, but come on.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
That's not happening.
It's wishful thinking, but I do think
if we do see passes, I think they're going to be some vanilla routes where, hey, good opportunity for the young guys to try to get some separation and separate themselves in that depth chart as well. But I don't think we're going to be scheming up some of our best plays next weekend. That's for sure.
What happened to first play of the game last year against North Dakota? I mean, they drew it up. Big play right away, throw it down to Jalen, make a play. Not saying they're going to do that on Saturday, but
what they do following that.
Yeah. And they threw it to Higgins. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
For 3 quarters.
Okay. Sorry, you meant the next position.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, they obviously were able to throw it a little bit last week. They kind of last year.
And I would expect a brand new secondary Iowa State to test them a little bit for sure. I think it would be silly for them not to.
So yeah, those are kind of my two. I don't even know if keys of the game are really appropriate. I think it's more of a storyline, and I think it's something important that Iowa State needs to keep building off of, because it's important that this team builds off it before heading into Iowa next week. So anything for you as far as keys of the game, or just storylines to follow?
As far as following storylines, I thought one of the biggest ones from this past weekend was that there really wasn't a whole lot of surprises with this Iowa State team. The 2 groups that we were most worried about coming into the game were the offensive line and the secondary. Obviously, the offensive line got better as the game went on and really started to dominate the ground game in the fourth quarter, and was kind of the main reason, with bringing in Carson Hansen, kind of the main reason we ended up getting the win that we did. So seeing them build upon that, I would expect South Dakota to probably blitz Iowa State a lot. I thought the pass offense really struggled in the first half there, picking up blitzes, especially after Bohr went out. Not really sure when he's going to be back and what that offensive line, if we're going to get the same 5 guys there on the interior as we did last week. So kind of keeping an eye on that. I expect them to run the ball a lot, try to establish the runs, kind of what Matt Campbell likes to do, kind of what Taylor Mauser likes to do. I don't really think they'll get as creative with some of their run schemes as they did last weekend with all their different tight ends. I think it could be a week where they just try to outman South Dakota, especially with that new defense. But one of the biggest things that I guess we need to keep an eye on, I'm sure a lot of Iowa State fans are worried about, if there's going to be an opening for South Dakota to win this game, it's going to be on Bauman and on his arm and attacking this young Iowa State secondary. Obviously, they got beat a couple times last week. It's something that the defense, not necessarily giving up big pass plays last year, but last year they kind of struggled in giving up big run plays. But nonetheless, like, this Iowa State defense needs to stop giving up big plays. And if you're going to lose to an FCS team, like, that's where it's going to come, is based off big plays. Like, I don't really expect South Dakota to come in here and just chop us up one play at a time defensively. We'll have whole different can of worms there if that's the case. But if they're going to have success against us, I think it's going to be through the air. Something that we really didn't talk about last week that is kind of crazy, we haven't talked about this to this point, is how well the linebackers and the safeties tackled last weekend. Specifically, Marcus Neal and Jamison Patton. Those guys were all over the place, flying around like banshees, hitting dudes. That was really good to see. So I'm actually pretty confident in how Iowa State's defense is going to look, trying to stop Strong there in the run game. So it's the pass game that really has me worried. I don't know about you.
It does, but it does. I think it starts with the run game first, because you look at an offense like South Dakota, they're at their best when they're running the football and just shut down Strong. And I think you got a guy like, Carson Van Dinner, if I said that right. Like, he got a little excited. He wanted to join the club, I think, with Marcus Neal and Jamison Patton and go lay the wood. And that's when Avery did that little RPO look, and he took that one step forward, and Brown was right behind him. The other one with Cummings Coleman, he's just a young guy, I think, trying to make the hero play right away. Like, he was neck and neck with Bernard, the receiver, but he just kind of jumped it like 2 seconds early and missed the pick. Where like Van Dinner,
It
I
was
think
really
got
early.
it was early. It was early. Like he didn't have to make that play though. You know what I mean? Like he was there. He just got a little excited. Whereas I feel like Carson got bit on the run. So that being said, it starts
Things
with
are
these
going to need to
linebackers.
clean up though.
I agree. But I think it's going to help out a ton if these linebackers fly around. USD can't run the football, and then those safeties can kind of sit back. They're not, so aggressive to bait up in the run, and then they can maybe let's go get a pick on Saturday. I would love to see Iowa State get an interception or two, because they didn't really have any opportunity against Avery Johnson on Saturday. I did want to point out, Justin, last year USD played Wisconsin. They lost the football game 13-27, just kind of a slow, almost like Big Ten style game. And USD struggled offensively, 237 total yards, 114 passing yards. Bauman was like only 14 of 23. Because I'm telling you guys, they're going to want to run the ball first. Like Bauman's good, but running the ball is their most important piece in the offense. They rushed for 123 yards, not typical to their standards, 2 for 11 on third down. And Wisconsin, whose offense sucked last year, had 5.7 yards per play. So,
am I being arrogant in thinking that we're going to do a really good job in stopping the run? Just like looking at the way those guys were flying around last week and tackling really got me excited. And I've got a question for you. How many guys are they going to use to block Big 9-5?
Thank you.
Because there were times on Saturday, well, he was double teamed pretty much every play. There were times where they had 3 guys on it. How many guys are they going to put on Big 9-5 to try to stop
I was going to say, we can't go this whole episode. I know Patton and Marcus Neal and Bacon and the linebackers were awesome and flying around, but it is pretty easy to tackle somebody at that level when you've got a one-on-one, when it's just you and the running back in the gap. Because guess what? The guard center guard is trying to block your nose tackle. So there's really they're not getting to the second level because they're trying to block Dominic Orange from getting in the middle. He had only 2 tackles, I think, on Saturday, but he was like, I don't think South Dakota is ready to block 95.
But yeah, that's because K-State had to pretty much iterate their entire offensive line to try to stop him. And that led to Ike Ezeagu have a big day too.
Okay.
Those 2 big pass deflections were massive. And hopefully this weekend, if he's put on some one-on-ones, we can see him get in the backfield and maybe pick up a sack or 2.
Or Tomatoa McDonough. Like, I was impressed with Ike. I think Ike's ready for Big 12 play. I'm not worried about Ike, but I would like to see Tomatoa get a little more. Just getting thrown into against Kansas State's offensive line your first game is not an easy task coming from Yale. But now, there's an FCS opponent you're maybe more familiar with, new offensive tackles. Let's see 58 maybe get a sack too. I would like to see that. All right, Justin. Let's kind of wrap this up. We got to get to prediction time. Before we get into that, as always, want to get a shout out to our other partner at Frost Buddy. These are the best coolers to keep your drinks cold in these hot summer days or these hot fall kickoffs here at Jack Trice Stadium. Go check those guys out. They got over 80 different teams. You can design these koozies, repping your team in the tailgate parking lot. Would love to see some of those out at Jack Trice Stadium on Saturday. Go and check them out and use frostbuddy.com/PTFS in the URL. Tell them Play the Fight Song sent you. So shout out to our other partners at Frost Buddy, keeping our drinks cold. Actually, Justin, I might just need a Frost Buddy koozie to keep my coffee warm. If I get to the parking lot on Saturday at like 10 a.m., it might not even be 60 degrees yet.
Jealous.
It is going to be fantastic.
I'm jealous. It's going to be the first home game I haven't been to since like 2019.
Yeah, this is breaking news. I mean, when's the last time Iowa State's? When's the last time I've been at Jack Trice Stadium and you haven't? Obviously, clearly, it's been 6 or 7 years. So
probably.
Let's do it, Justin. Should be an absolute beautiful day. I've seen a little bit of rain in the forecast, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I think the parking lot's going to be absolutely full. I think this game should be a sellout just based on the weather, the wind, everything else. I said it before. Iowa State opens up as a 15.5-point favorite as we're going through this. What is this? We're recording this Monday night. So I expect this line to move. I don't know if it doesn't get to 14. I really don't think so. Maybe 14 and a half, but I really don't see South Dakota getting down to 14. So that being said, Justin, give us a score prediction. Like, what do you think happens on Saturday? And do the Cyclones just take care of business?
Yeah, I've got Iowa State winning 31-14. I think the line's kind of moved in USD's direction for a reason. It's obviously a game that Iowa State needs to get up for and be worried about and take super seriously. But I think it's moved a little too far. After watching this weekend, I think Iowa State's going to have some success stopping the run. And I think if that happens, USD's offense could struggle, just like we talked about with all the guys on the D line, the linebackers, all that. I think that's going to be a really big role in kind of slowing down their run game. And then that should help us slow down the rest of their passing attack as well. And I just think Iowa State's got too many different options to move the ball on offense. We don't really have one guy to go in the passing game, but we didn't talk about it much. I thought all the tight ends looked pretty well. Even though we weren't able to pass it super efficiently, I still think everyone had their moment at points. And seeing the way we were able to run the ball in the fourth quarter started to get me really excited. So I think we're going to have multiple ways to move the ball. May not score a bunch of points just because that's how Campbell likes to do it. He likes to get in, you get out against these FCS teams and try not to mess around. Since the UNI game a couple years ago, kind of try to just take care of business and get out of there. So I've got 31-14, which would be an Iowa State cover, and I believe that would still hit the under.
I haven't even seen the total. Do you have a total?
It was 48.5. I think it's 47.5 now.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that definitely going under. I would love to know. I got to pull this up, but just thinking on the top of my head, like after Campbell's first year in 2016, is his only G5 FCS loss to Ohio in 2020? Was it 2023? Like that's the only one I can think of, right?
Well,
like
the Lafayette game.
Okay, thank you.
So we talked about at the beginning of the podcast.
That's
and then we took UNI to overtime.
Are we gonna pull the thing where the COVID year doesn't count, except it still counts for our Fiesta Bowl? Can I say that?
No.
The point I'm making is I think Campbell really gets his teams ready for these games. And as important as the mental preparation and the physical preparation was for him getting his team ready for this Ireland trip, I think has been just as important for him and what he's prioritized the health of his players coming back from this trip and playing in this game on Saturday. Like, I think he's talked about ad nauseum about how important it is coming back from this and having success more than going over to Ireland and taking care of business there. Like, I think he is prioritized this week. And if I think I know the urgency Coach Campbell coaches with, I really think he's going to be on his dudes, like bringing them back to earth a little bit. And I think Iowa State has always had good success really following up big wins. Like, you don't usually see an Iowa State team crumble after big.
For sure. And I think this group in particular is pretty veteran, and seeing the maturity they showed last week and the growth that they showed as the game went on and kind of limiting the mistakes gives me confidence that they're going to be ready and up to play on Saturday.
That being said, I want them coming out aggressive. What you say, Iowa's going to play Albany and they're the 38-point favorite and they can probably just run the ball and win 21-0 or whatever. But I think if you're Taylor Mauser, I would love for you to try things and I would love for you to kind of open up the playbook a little bit on Saturday. I'm kind of over I don't even know. It's probably not a farce, but saving everything for your first big rivalry of the year. I mean, you kind of opened up the playbook last week. I think Iowa has a decent idea of what your strengths are, at least at this point. So what are you holding back? Like, try some new things, get aggressive. I think I would love to see a lot of throws, at least in the first half. Throw it a bunch in the first half, sit on it in the second half, at least if you're doing your job and the defense is playing the way they should. Because South Dakota is not a team who can play down a bunch. Like, they're not a team built to come back.
Yeah, it depends how well the defense is playing for them to do stuff like that, for sure.
All right. That being said, I like your pick, Justin. I think 31-14 is a great pick.
You're going with the same prediction as me?
Yeah, why not?
Oh.
I like that. I like that one. What do you want me to do? I think 35.
Is that what you had coming into this?
Okay, roughly in that ballpark. And then when you said it, I think it just sounded natural. Okay, I'll go 35-17. Although I'm a little nervous. I don't know if Iowa State scored. I don't know if that's
an over.
Yeah, I don't know if those two teams score that many points. on
Well, you said
Saturday.
it's going to be aggressive, so that would chalk up.
I would have to go. I need to go back and watch the Wisconsin game. Like, why did Strong only have 12 carries? Did he not play in the second half? I need to go back and watch it. But anyways, we're going long here. That's what we do. We're in the middle of it, Justin. We got Cyhawk next week. We have South Dakota on deck. We're back in Jack Trice Stadium. If you guys will be in Jack Trice on Saturday with us, we'd love for you guys to stop by. I think C5, I think is where we're tailgating. Don't quote me on that. Reach out to me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at JSchaeferCFB right there. But either way, Justin, life is good. Go find us at Play the Fight Song, Play the Fight Pod on all socials. Tune into our live show this Wednesday to cover all the games for week 1. My name is Jake. That is my brother, Justin. As always, we'll see you guys next week. Go Cyclones.